Across our broadcast regions in Victoria and New South Wales, won't be either state representing in the AFLW Grand Final. Karl Carrington from AFLW News 24 team joins me. He's been covering the AFLW through the summer and now we're into Grand Final time. Hey Karl, how are you?
Very good, Wayne. And yeah, the AFLW season has come to its ultimate conclusion. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, I bet you are. Now, I'm going to ask you as a Port supporter, I'm going to sort of push you along to become slightly South Australian and go for the Adelaide Crows, or are you going to kind of switch your way out of this a little bit?
Stir the pot a little bit, yeah. Well, I do usually go for the South Australian side in most sports, including the AFLW, where I picked Adelaide Crows to beat the Demons, which they did in their prelim. So, but this week I'm actually going to tip Brisbane, the Brisbane Lions, to beat the Crows at Adelaide Oval. It's a massive upset if they do, because the Crows will be coming into this one as red hot favourites. But I do think Brisbane, they're galvanised, and I think the loss of Chelsea Randall, obviously, for the Crows will be massive. So, I'm going to tip the Brisbane Lions.
Oh, I'm going to ask you about the prelims, because Adelaide Crows 5-3-33 beat Melbourne 1-9-15. Now, Melbourne had 10 scoring shots to Adelaide's 8, and in effect, Melbourne actually beat the Crows in their round 7 match by about the same margin. The Crows have actually ended up beating Melbourne here in this prelim. But were Melbourne a lot closer in this game than what the score indicates?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think, obviously, the inaccurate kicking didn't help them, kicking 9 behinds and only just the one major. So you're never going to win a game of footy in any aspect if you kick like that. And, the Demons will be very disappointed. Their coach came out and said that inaccurate kicking cost them, and they will be looking to hopefully bounce back from that next season and make a push for the grand final.
I'm going to ask you about Brisbane, though. 7-3-45 to Collingwood, 6-5-41. Brisbane showed right from the very early part of this AFLW season they were a real form side. So they've got to a grand final. Can Brisbane trouble the Crows after what you saw? Maybe reflect on what you saw them in beating Collingwood by 4 points in an absolute thriller.
Yeah, it was an absolute thriller, you're right. It was a great game, match of the season so far, really, with it being so close. And once again, accurate kicking was played its part, with Brisbane kicking it a little bit more accurately in front of the big sticks, but also their contested work and their hardness around the ball, I think, is what carried them against the Magpies, and I think that's one of the key pillars, I suppose, that they'll be hoping to replicate in the grand final this weekend.
All right, concussion rule. Out goes Chelsea Randall, the Adelaide Crows captain. It is a 12-day protocol. It doesn't matter where you are in whichever football competition. That is what's been laid down, and that is how it's been received by the Crows. So they've been quite clear about it. Nick Riewoldt came out this week and made a comment that if he felt right to go and play and he had another doctor that is qualified in the particular area of concussion injury or head injury, and that they'd given him a clearance to play, he said while he supported the decision for the 12 days and wasn't disagreeing with the protocol, he felt that it could be a court case that could happen in the future for somebody to make it into a grand final. Do you think that a player would ever go that far?
Potentially. I could maybe see Nick Riewoldt going that far, but so, yeah, I do think that Chelsea Randall being out is the right decision, and I don't think that she has too much to argue for if she's been concussed and the health practitioners have given their say that she's not right to play. So, yeah, I do think that it's the right decision that she misses, unfortunately for her, because she would have been a massive inclusion for the Crows as she's been all year.
Okay, you've tipped Brisbane. I'll go with the Crow Girls. 1:30 p.m. Is the time slot a bit ordinary? Maybe they could have played this on a Tuesday night or something like that and give the girls a chance to get through the concussion protocol, or Wednesday night the following week, just to be different rather than putting it up against other AFL men's competition.
Yeah, it's on the weekend. It's 1:30 on a Saturday, which is accessible for most people who live in the state. So there should be a good crowd out. I know that the Crows are playing the following day using the same ground, so it might disturb their game potentially, but I think that a Saturday afternoon game is the right time slot for an Adelaide crowd.
All right, interesting comments. Karl Carrington, now your fantasy on AFL football. How are you going this week? You took my advice and picked Taylor Walker, I believe, and he's delivering dividends for you.
Yeah, he did. He had a bit of a quiet game, I suppose, against North Melbourne. He only kicked the 3 goals, Wayne, which has been a bit down on what he's previously done this year, kicking bags of 5 and 6. But yeah, he's marking the ball beautifully. He's getting up the ground and getting plenty of touches, which results in plenty of fantasy points. So I was very happy with his his inclusion this week in my side. And on the back of his inclusion, I actually shot up the rankings and I'm up to 11,000 now. So doing a little bit better than what I have been.
Okay, any of the other ins and outs? Have you got some really big tips for our fantasy figures out there?
Yeah, well, Caleb Daniel, the halfback from the Western Bulldogs, he's an out this week with his suspension. So I've brought in Lachlan Jones, the youngster from Port Adelaide who played his first game against Richmond last week. He seemed just to fit in beautifully at AFL level, and he scored well in fantasy. So I've got him in as a bit of a downgrade, and that allows me to get James Jordan, who's one of the Melbourne youngsters, and he goes up to Josh Dunkley. So a real big gun mid that comes in for me, and hopefully he reaps the rewards.
Gets you up above where you are at 11,000. Haven't understood a single word you said in the last 2 minutes, but anyway, we'll go for it. Karl Carrington from our Flow News 24 desk. He's tipped Brisbane to win the women's competition. I've gone with the Crows. What a big weekend in sport.